The management and the staff is about developing these players and making them into first-team players, whether it be, you know, at the respective clubs they're at or later on. But as a player, you want to win games, you want to win trophies. It doesn't matter what level it is, what age group it is. You want to go and win things, and especially when you get to this stage of a competition, especially when it's so close, then yes, experience is great. Playing here at this, you know, historic, wonderful stadium at Villa Park will be obviously a fantastic experience for these players, but at the end of the day, they want to go and win this competition.
Villa certainly want to retain it. That very much is the case. We just saw a moment ago in there, Javier Alonso walking down the touchline, the Spanish boss, as I say, who's come up through the Atletico Madrid ranks, and you know that the fire and brimstone of how that club is run by a certain Diego Simeone has maybe just worn off perhaps on him. He comes with a lot of passion and with a bit of effervescence as well. There's some real fight that he likes to put into his side.
Yeah, and I think that's important, especially engaging the minds of young players. You have to be likeable or at least respected, and having that type of personality. Sometimes it splits changing rooms, don't get me wrong, but there's always that level of respect. So I think, you know, coming with that sort of background, being involved in that environment, I'm sure that, you know, he's a big character in the dressing room that all these players are looking up to. And just looking at the players now in the tunnel, I think this is the best part of football for me, obviously getting on the pitch, but you know, this moment's before the trepidation, the nerves, the excitement. These are the big moments of the game before you step on the pitch. And it's almost, for me, sometimes the 90 minutes goes by in a blur. You almost go back to sort of auto mode when you get on the pitch. That's what you know, but these moments are before are the real exciting bits for me.
Is it about the butterflies in the stomach? Is it about clearing the head and having clarity, or do you let the moment come into you a little bit to give you that shot of adrenaline in the arm almost just before the 90 minutes?
I think every player is different, but for me, and I learned this more so at the end of my career, is once you're in that tunnel and you don't get the butterflies and the excitement and the nerves, it's probably time to hang your boots up. Every time you get those, you know, nervous moments, it's because you care, it's because you want to be there, it's because you're really excited to be out on the pitch. So yes, you've got to feel it, enjoy it, but also it's almost in that moment, as I said, of going on autopilot, of once you step over the white line, once that whistle goes, then that's the time where you've concentrated, you try to put everything aside. And it's quite interesting really how the nerves can dissipate so quickly in the space of 10 seconds.
Interesting, maybe the mental game being played by Villa here as well. We did touch on they were very late off the pitch in terms of getting away from their warm-ups, as some are starting to make their way out from the dressing room and along to the substitutes bench, at least, as finally you see Woody Burgess bring the Villa side down, the Sherman wearing the captain's armband this evening. There won't be too much lingering in the tunnel for the home players, at least tonight. They've made Palace stand and wait, almost like a Formula 1 grid start. Once you're in position, you want to just get going. You don't want to be hanging around and lingering in the tunnel. The last words from Scott Jackson being imparted to the players before they finally get to walk the walk out into this magnificent arena. Hosted England internationals, hosted FA Cup semi-finals, and now it hosts the quarter-final of the FA Youth Cup. There's plenty of silverware in the trophy cabinet of Villa Park, and one of the most recent additions is on the line tonight in the second city as Aston Villa hosts Crystal Palace in the FA Youth Cup quarter-final. Almost 12 months ago, the Villains were toasting their success in this competition after their victory over Manchester City. But this evening, under the lights of one of English football's grandest arenas, the Villains must defend that title against a Palace side that, under the stewardship of Javier Alonso, have found success in both league and cup campaigns this season already, and who desperately want to be the first name in the hat for the semi-final draw. A warm reception from those that are in attendance. The Trinity Road stand just opposite our commentary position, just in front of the players. Javier Alonso just working his way down the line before exchanging pleasantries with Richard Beale down there. Let's have a look at the starting 11s for these two sides this evening. Villa make just one change from the side that booked a spot in the quarter-finals against Wrexham. Finlay Barnard comes into the starting 11 after his substitute's appearance in that fifth-round win. He'll be behind Alfie Linsky, who will be hoping his league scoring form can finally translate into cup success. Bradley Burrows is trying to make it a fourth straight game with at least one goal in this competition. He has 5 in the FA Youth Cup so far. As for Crystal Palace, they make 3 changes from the side that grafted their way past Stevenage in the last round of the FA Youth Cup back in early February. Kyan Fraser-Williams is back in the starting 11 as he continues to get his feet under the table at his new club. Joel Drakes-Thomas started against Bradford in the third round victory and is back on the right flank tonight. Ryan Anderson sits in the number 10 role behind David Anjiboda and Ben Casey up front, a formidable pairing that have 5 goals between them in the FA Youth Cup this season. Captains meet in the middle. Jasper Judd wearing the armband for Crystal Palace this evening. Woody Burgess, as I say, wearing the armband for Villa. Scott Jackson in charge of proceedings tonight. We hope we don't have to mention his name too much over the 90 minutes and whatever else is required. Courtney, there are plenty of key protagonists down there for both of these two sides, but Bradley Burrows has been the scoring form man in this competition this season. Hasn't played in the under-18s in the league because he's been getting accustomed to life in the senior side at Aston Villa, but 5 goals in 3 games in this competition, a mightily impressive record. Yeah,
it is, and as you say, the fact that he's earned, that call-up further up the age groups, I think that's really important, especially for young players to be able to see that progression as well.
And then David Anjiboda, I mean, what he can't do with a football in the front line isn't worth talking about, really. He's been phenomenal in both league and cup campaigns, and he's a real raw talent that Palace are trying to sculpt into something very special.
Yeah, and I like the way he plays. He can play off both sides, not afraid to come inside, and got a lot of physical attributes as well as that quality on the ball.
It's Palace who get us underway this evening. The away side playing in their change strip white shirts with the blue and red trim, playing from right to left on your screen, and left to right on your screen, excuse me, and Villa playing from right to left in their traditional claret and blue with the white shorts and the light blue socks. And it'll be interesting to see how the early exchanges are between these two sides playing in a ground like this on an occasion like this. There are plenty that have been through this competition all the way to the final and won it with Villa last season. There are some that don't have that experience, and there's also the pressure of playing one of the form sides and one of the best scoring sides at the under-18 level in this country.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to make in terms of the more experienced players within the squad have to, I think, especially in the early part of the game, shoulder that responsibility and help everyone else be on an even keel.
Drakes-Thomas just feeding it down the line for Anjiboda. He's trying to work his way inside, but well held up in the end by Leon Routh, the centre-back. It's the early intention, though, from the number 11, who, as you touched on, Courtney, can drift left or right or be devastating with his pace down the centre, and then everything he does just almost acts as a distraction for the number 9 as well. Benjamin Casey, Benji Casey, they call him around the place. The youth academy at Crystal Palace. You can call him whatever you want when he's scoring goals like he has done this season. Pass just behind Marky Mead, recollected though in the centre of the field by the Irishman Linsky, who wears that number 10 shirt and very much is the epitome of that role in the middle of the park for Villa.
Yeah, just looking ever so slightly nervous though in that little passage of play, but that's better from Villa.
Lovely touch by Jack McGrath, feeding it out into the space on this near side. Burrows, the danger man for Villa. Lovely pull back to the edge of the area, and it's a decent effort too. May have taken a deflection, but McGrath wheels away in celebration, and inside 5 minutes, Villa have the breakthrough.
Well, I think you're right. It does take a deflection, but that doesn't matter. As we mentioned, actually earlier on in that play, Villa in that midfield, they looked a little bit tentative, getting in each other's way. But then there's that moment of quality for Aston Villa. And that man there does ever so well to get the shot off McGrath, and more of a long ball there, but I love this touch, by the way that he's opened up, faces forward, but then he carries on his run. He makes sure that he's not resting on his laurels, he's not admiring his pass, gets himself in a fantastic position. Yes, it takes a massive deflection on the way, but Villa won't care one bit about that.
Jasper Judd just couldn't get out of the way of the effort in time. And the ricochet, leaving Luca Benetton with absolutely no chance, aside from just a paw at the air in hope more than anything else. McGrath gets his third in this competition this season and gets the early opener that will certainly settle the nerves on home soil now.
Yeah, from a Villa perspective, nothing better in terms of getting that early goal. It puts Palace on the back foot now, completely probably changes their thought process, and you have you plan for the early part of the game. Normally one of the first things the manager says is don't concede, so certainly it's gone out the window for Palace.
Physical but fair from Charlie Walker-Smith. Just saw in the left side of the screen there Javier Alonso already in his technical area and walking around. I mean, when you concede so early, is it important to still stick to the game plan, or does the game plan immediately have to be readjusted, so to speak?
I think it depends. Probably not much for Palace in this situation, because they like to possess the ball, they like the high press and winning the ball back in high areas. So if they were in a low block and looking to frustrate Villa, I'd say yes, you have to change, but not so much in the way that Palace play.
Minsky feeding it to the goal scorer McGrath, who moves it inside. Another ricochet will send it behind for a corner. That was Teddy Bloomfield pushing forward and supporting the attack. The left back for Villa on that back four. It's a good opportunity from this set piece to try and double the advantage quickly.
Yeah, don't mind it from Bloomfield. He gets himself in a good position. You see he's probably not really set to take the shot on. And he scuffs it a little bit. But again, when you're in the box and you get a shot off, you never know. We've already seen it. Deflection could go in the back of the net, so you've got to take your chance sometimes.
There's plenty of bodies inside that 6-yard box. It's going to make life very difficult for Benetton. He doesn't have to come and collect it. Nobody in the vicinity for Villa. Maybe a chance quickly for Palace on the counter-attack, although that's very well mopped up at the back. Superb piece of defending from Max Jenner.
Yeah, it was, although the initial touch, I thought, was very nice from Danaher, the way he brings it down, and thought he might get a little bit lucky then with the ricochet, but ends up being marshalled well in that situation by Villa.
Ball out into the space on the far side of the field. Anderson cutting back. Again, though, runs into two defenders almost straight away, and Villa again looking to be quick on the counter. Burrows is chasing this one down, sticking to the shoulder of Charlie Walker-Smith, who is looking like he's going to have a very tough evening taking on the speedster of Villa.
Yeah, he is, but I think Walker-Smith does really well there. He's clever, he takes the inside line on his recovery, so he knows that in terms of, pace, he's probably going to get beaten, but if he's clever with his positioning and the way he gets his body across, he's going to win the battle, which he does there really well.
Given away by Chuck Sokoli. Looking to win it back in that centre circle. Seven fairly erratic minutes already gone in terms of this game hasn't really settled down into any sort of rhythm.
No, although I do think Aston Villa are taking control relative, as you say, to the Frantic start in the middle of the pitch, and they're managing to get forward at times, but that won't help them.
So managing to give it away in rather potentially cataclysmic positions inside their own penalty area. Bit of pushing and pulling on Marky Mead. Free kick goes against the forward. I have to say it looked like it was the Villa player's shirt that was being tugged more initially.
Yeah, I must admit, I think that's very much 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
Centre forwards union still working out for you then?
Always, never dies.
Just nicked away so quickly there by Routh, and now he's happy, the centre-back, to bring it forward. Defending though, backtracking all the way, Angebot. Yellow card has just been shown there to Leon Routh. I have to say, I didn't notice what that was potentially for, unless it was maybe for back chat to the official in the process.
Yeah, very potentially, as you say. It didn't look like anything completely obvious for the Villa centre-back. Now, there's not too much in that. Continues, it's more, he's being fouled more than anything. So, I think it's the reaction.
Casey trying to get to it. It's a chase in vain, really, but will at least leave Villa pinned deep inside their own half. They do like to press high up the pitch, this Palace side. Bring that intensity that we were talking about. That's very similar to how Diego Simeone has his Atletico Madrid set up. Does leave a lot of space, though, for Villa to potentially press into the gaps left in behind.
It's a shame for Bloomfield because he takes up a better position. He's been getting forward really well, but I think at times he's been a little bit too narrow, whereas there he gets the positioning spot on, but the ball into him, the weight of pass wasn't right.
Sweeping pass from Akoli, but it's asking a little too much in the end for Kyan Fraser-Williams there. As I say, one of the newer faces in this Crystal Palace youth setup, the man who joined from Dunstable at the start of this season. It's a little more difficult, the pull for Palace as a youth academy, when you consider the prowess that the likes of Tottenham have in North London, as Arsenal as well in the London area. There's a lot of scouting to be done. I would say that Villa are probably the dominant force in this part of the country, that's for sure, in terms of youth academy setups. Yeah,
without a doubt, they are the prominent figure in this type of area, and that gives them, as you mentioned, an advantage over other clubs.
Routh. Burgess sends it forward. Lovely ball from the goal scorer McGrath. Well brought down under control as well by Burrows. Tried to do something a little trickier, moving it inside. Good press though, high up the pitch, leads to the error. And Villa will retake possession. And take a look at the goal again.
Yeah, and for me, it's about the way that McGrath continues his run, because he starts the play but gets the shot off really well. And as one of my old managers say, to win the raffle, you've got to buy a ticket.
Villa's turn to press high up the pitch, and it means there are no real easy passing lanes out from the back for Palace.
No, we mentioned, didn't we, in terms of that prowess from Angibo there, and I think that was one of those blind balls where they're expecting him to be there and run the channel, as we've seen already, but wasn't to be.
Jenner, again looking for the space on this near side. Villa trying those crossfield balls time and time again inside these first 15 minutes. Well broken up though by Casey. First real time that we've seen Jasper Judd trying to put his best foot forward, moving down that right sideline. He is a defender that likes to get forward, also does have that ability to sit on the right side of a back three and be patient and diligent with the defensive duties. Lucas Smith preparing the long throw, the Welshman.
Well, there was a push, the referee is insinuating there, but there was an element of handball. I think he probably got away with one there.
Coley was in the vicinity. There were a few others as well. no great appeals for the ball inside the area initially. Maybe one to have a look back on again in a moment. Brought under control by Danaher, but again Palace have to go backwards before they go forwards. Judd. Just trying to drop it into that very slim slot of space.
And I think that's easier in the transition, but actually when it's set like that and Palace playing out from the back, they're setting really good positions, Aston Villa, so it's difficult to drop that ball in behind.
That's great work again by Burrows, who's just gone down under the challenge. Play will continue, however. There's Williams pushing forward. He's somewhere to go with it, and he's very well watched there by Junior Wilson. Burrows staying down at midfield, which is something that Villa fans and certainly that Villa bench won't want to see at all this early on.
Let's have a closer look. Is it a bit of a collision there? Impact looks quite innocuous, really.
Another one for Casey. Does well to at least get the pull back into the 18-yard box. There's nobody on the end of it once more. Closing down high up the pitch by the centre forward. Doesn't quite fall though for Chuksakoli.
So these are the moments where I think Aston Villa are playing really well, just picking up the seconds in the midfield almost all the time, in and around the centre circle, and just having that little bit more control.
Free kick after the nibble on Burrows' ankles. Burgess just giving it short to his centre forward. Mead with a lovely turn and playing it into the space as the flag stays down here. There's two in the box waiting for it, and it's drilled into the side netting instead. Opportunity wasted, and a golden one at that, because McGrath had just peeled away into some space. But Junior Wilson was looking for his second against Palace this season, and one that could have been an early killer blow to the Eagles' hopes.
Yeah, should have done better. Easy to say from up here, but that has to be cut back, doesn't it, to McGrath, and it's Judd actually in the build-up to that was playing everyone else on side.
You could see as well in the aftermath there were a few, shall we say, stern words from McGrath to his teammate.
Yeah, rightly so, because that changes the game at this point. I know it's only 16 minutes in, but 2-0, that's a massive mountain to climb for Palace.
Danaher gives it wide, just holds off his run. It's two inside the area. Judd. Fraser Williams trying to make himself available and runs straight into Junior Wilson.
It's a robust challenge, don't mind that, and you can hear the Villa bench while Villa were playing that, or Palace rather, playing that round the back line, saying higher, higher. Want to engage them. I think that's a better line now, you see, for Villa. They're just 10 yards a little bit higher rather than before they were dropping into a bit of a mid-block.
Trace Thomas inside. Casey again surrounded by two immediately. The free kick goes against the Palace number 9 as well, which seems a little harsh. I'm sure Alfie Linsky will see it the way of the referee, however. Alonso won't be too happy about seeing his centre forward bundled over and then being penalised for it. Chuck continuing the fight, but comes up against Linsky, who was able to turn away and look at the space for me down the centre. Almost perfectly weighted as well. Goalkeeper had to come and get something on it.
It's a shame that that ball wasn't a little bit wider from a Villa perspective. Don't get me wrong, Charlie Walker-Smith does ever so well there. But if that's a more diagonal ball rather than a straighter one, it's a massive opportunity for Villa and need to get on the end of.
A couple of really good chances for Richard Beale's side. And they haven't taken them. Macaulay trying to be unselfish when maybe he could have struck it himself, the midfielder.
I do think Villa look much the better in possession going forward, but back line, they look a bit shaky. There's moments like that where they lose the ball or they're well pressed from Crystal Palace, and you can't help but feel there's a mistake in that back line.
Back again with the Welshman Walker-Smith. He's almost trying to play a defensive midfield playmaker role there, coming a little higher up the pitch and looking to receive the ball on a few occasions. Just very little room. Fraser Williams trying to force it down the line. Anderson can't get there. One again by the winger, but well broken up by Wilson once more.
I've been impressed with Wilson so far. You see on that transition where the ball goes across, and he waits and he bides his time, and then when he knows it's the time to go and press, he releases himself. In terms of just that movement and the timing to get there and defend well, and then he loses out really in the second phase, but he's got that determination to get back and make the challenge as well.
One of a number of players that's worn the armband this season for the under-18s is Junior Wilson. Lovely ball over the top. It's just going to run away from Ben Casey. Flag up on this near side anyway.
The bounce wasn't kind to him. Not to matter because the flag is up anyway. Finley Barnard, I think, might have been panicking just a little bit as that ball dropped over his head.
I should say it has had a little bit of rain on it this evening. Villa Park's playing surface, which is absolutely immaculate. I was told to very much stay away from it earlier tonight. As Mead comes forward and continues his run down the outside. He's done very well, and there was an unmarked McGrath waiting to pounce, and it's well plucked out to the air by Benetton.
And that's what you want from your goalkeeper, to come and take control of the situation in the box. And he did ever so well, though. Got great agility, pace with and without the ball.
Very neat and tidy flick by Angibote. Doesn't really get Palace moving fast in the right direction. Danaher gives it wide into the space. Fraser Williams, 3 in the box to aim at. Again, none can be found. Once more, the first man can't be beaten with the cross.
Interesting from Villa. Maybe slowing the game down just a little bit. No urgency to take the throw in. Just trying to manage the game.
Wilson gives it away. Just about brought under control, albeit on the turn by Jenner. The idea is nice to nod down to the front line. It's just that little bit of chemistry and connection that's missing for Palace at the moment.
Yeah, and I actually really like the movement from Casey there, who won the header. He was really clever. The way that he came off the back shoulder of Barnard there on the blind side, and then at the last minute just darts across and wins the header.
Talk about a lack of communication. Nobody on the end of the pass from Walker Smith that has a few scratching their heads in that midfield and back line. Easily picked up again by Facida, however.
I think in that moment Fraser Williams was too busy looking down the line at almost the next pass that he didn't realise the ball was coming towards him.
And a bit of frustration there as well from David Angebode as he just went stumbling into the back of Leon Routh. As you mentioned, just in the last couple of minutes, Villa again just slowing the game down, slowing the pace down.
And it's not always what fans want to see, but I think it's intelligent by the players on the pitch, because that's not necessarily with quality, but last 5 or so minutes Palace were starting to go forward a bit more with freedom. Aston Villa, the players on the pitch, they've recognised that and just slowed the game down, halted the momentum.
Imagine as well, 25 minutes in, that early adrenaline maybe is just starting to wear off as well, and players perhaps haven't got that added spring in the step that they would have had in the first 15 minutes a little. Mead bundled over, looking to take it quickly.
Yeah, and it's about being clever with your energy as well, especially both these sides like to play high energy football, and physically it's so difficult to do that for 90 minutes.
It's a difficult opportunity to try and take, but it's well continued by Burrows and turned in, flags up on the far side of the field. However, Bloomfield won't get his goal. Crystal Palace all at sea at the back suddenly defensively, and Bradley Burrows was given almost 3 opportunities to latch onto that ball inside the 18-yard box.
Well, Charlie Walker-Smith didn't cover himself in glory here. I actually thought he's played relatively well up to now, but gets caught underneath the ball. Bradley Burrows certainly takes advantage. The first one, I think he's going to, and I think that's probably what he's trying to do, is to lob the goalkeeper, but actually just gets it completely wrong.
Coley. Judd again into the channel for Casey. Blocked by the first defender. Barnard's there once again. Judd. Fraser Williams has to go back to Okoli. Just see Ben Casey just trying to hang on the shoulder of the last defender. He looks like a centre forward that will very much enjoy the idea of the new offside rule that's coming in.
Yes, very much so. Welcome for all centre forwards. I think we've always been told we're meant to get the benefit of the doubt, but I don't think that's ever quite been the case. But again, I'm sounding like a bitter old centre forward, so.
It's given away. Angebode almost onto it, and again Leon Routh is just there at the last moment. Once more Villa almost architects of their own downfall. Once more they get away with it, and once more again they look good going forward here with McGrath. It's better defending this time by Judd to deal with the danger.
I thought Judd did really well there in the first phase, but then just wants to get rid of the ball too quickly. I think obviously now, because they're a goal down and you can look up at the big scoreboard and see the time ticking down, you want to get forward more quickly as a Palace player, but I think at times they're rushing things a little bit too much. Just need to find composure in the play.
Slightly heavy pass from Alfie Linsky. Ireland under 19, certainly enjoys representing his country, has scored in the senior ranks, so to speak, in the Virtue Trophy this season. It's another opportunity that youth academies get to tough it out against senior players, as Burrows looks again to take on the defence. Mead lays it off looking for McGrath, and again the opportunity squandered.
I think he can hit that first time. They do really well. Aston Villa, clever movement from McGrath, the way that he peels around the back, and then the Palace back line, they completely collapse and just allows that cut back.
Mead again, setting up on the edge of the area and finding a gap, and it's a decent save that by Benetton to get down quickly just to make sure he had it covered.
He does well, the goalkeeper. I don't know whether there was a little deflection on the way through that maybe just takes the power off this shot. But regardless, keeper makes a good save, but one you're expecting him to make nonetheless.
First real time we've seen Marky Mead actually setting up to strike rather than bring others into the equation.
Again, you see Aston Villa in the middle of the park, winning it really well, always competing. Even if they don't necessarily win the first ball, they're there and around, and then in the second phase they always seem to be the ones likely to win it.
Faceda pushing forward. Anderson didn't really find the gap, but was able to find Drakes Thomas. Two defenders to deal with. Oh, that's a fine save to deal with the initial effort, but Ben Casey's there to turn it in from close range, and after squandering so many chances, Villa find payback comes against them as Palace pull themselves level on the half-hour mark.
Well, it takes a couple of bites of the cherry, but it doesn't matter how it goes in as long as it does, although I think Aston Villa are a little bit upset there, and you saw it. I don't know whether they think that earlier in the play the ball potentially goes out, but that doesn't matter. The referee's whistle hasn't gone, and they need to make sure that they continue the play. So excellent save, by the way, initially. And then that's when you're asking your defenders, can you help me out? Can you be in and around? But that man there.
Opportunity straight away for Villa. Oh, it's off the post with an open goal, gaping for Teddy Bloomfield. Found the run on the angle and was suddenly bearing down on goal, and all he had to do was tuck it away into an empty net, although there were defenders coming back to try and recover.
Oh, what a fantastic response from Aston Villa to get back up the pitch so quickly. Put Palace under pressure. I will say, though, is I think with the opportunities they've created so far, they're probably kicking themselves that they've not got more than one goal and not set themselves really ahead of Crystal Palace and put some daylight between themselves and the visitors.
And they've had some good chances, that without a doubt the best, though, to find a second this evening. Though you get the feeling more could be coming very quickly. Burrows trying to jink between the defenders once more, does really well to open up the space for himself, and he can't find McGrath on the pull across.
Well, I think this is a shot, I really do. And you see a little bit earlier in the play where he creates half a yard and you think, shoot, it's a much better position, go across the goalkeeper like he does, but it's a bit more narrow. But he takes the extra touch. See, there, shoot. But that touch with the outside of his foot that takes him wider just narrows the angle, makes it a lot more difficult. And McGrath, right place at the right time, fantastic from him, because you're always thinking, right, best case scenario, or you know, if this shot goes across the goal as it should, can I tap it in? But just can't quite reach.
Slightly awkward just for a moment there from Owen Asimota. It's unbelievable how confident Villa look at one end of the pitch and how insecure they look in that back line and in possession of the football around their own 18-yard box.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be moments where, yes, there's obviously a philosophy that they're trying to develop these players and stick to, but also sometimes I'm not saying go completely long ball, but can you miss the defence out? Can you clip it in to your midfielders and avert the danger?
And Jabot switching it back out to the left. Casey can't be brought into play by Fraser Williams, and this is the moment that Villa will be kicking themselves for once again. It's a superb touch, that, from Bloomfield.
Yeah, it is, and I think he just panics. I think he can take an extra touch, settle himself, but so keen to try and put the ball in the back of the net that just takes his eye off the ball for a second.
Comfortable from the Welshman. Made it look very nonchalant indeed. Judd. Drakes Thomas. Anderson will get there. And he'll get it back. 3 to aim at inside the box, and he wins his side a corner. Just over 10 minutes to go in this first half. It's opening 45 minutes so far. That's flown by, really, at Villa Park. So we've just got a problem as Luca Benetton is down midway inside his own half, the Crystal Palace goalkeeper. He just needs some treatment. I wonder if he was maybe caught when he was diving out at the feet of Teddy Bloomfield in the build-up to that missed opportunity for Villa, but something just needs stretching out for the Palace keeper, it seems.
There's also now a moment where all the Palace players straight away going across, which maybe makes you think that this is more choreographed than actual injury, but who knows?
The clipboard's out. It's not necessarily showing a set-piece instruction. There's certainly some adjustments that Javier Alonso wants to make. And it potentially can't wait another 10 minutes before the half-time break to get the instructions out. It's the Brazilian stroke Italian goalkeeper. It just continues to be looked over.
I think they'll be a little bit frustrated, Aston Villa. I think in the context of the game so far, the quality in the final third, or getting into the final third that they've had, they look more dominant in that sense and more dangerous, but they've not been as clinical, I think, as they would have liked to have been.
They are one of the sides that have struggled for goals in the top half of the Under-18 Premier League South. It's been a season of maybe there could have been more, just 39 goals in the league campaign so far. And if you're perhaps viewing them for the first time tonight, you can also get an indication of why they've been struggling, because there's been some wonderful opportunities carved out, and there's almost an air of overly unselfish as well at times.
Yeah, I think so. There's opportunities where you see players in the box getting half a yard opportunities to shoot, and they're not taking it, maybe trying to choreograph the perfect opportunity. Sometimes that's actually to the team's detriment.
In the meantime, there's some defensive heads to be switched on for the hosts. Not a bad ball in. It was in towards Okoli and then ricocheted off Walker-Smith. Falls down nicely for Casey, who's bundled over inside the area. No real look from the official, wasn't having any of it in the end. Man in the middle, Scott Jackson. McGrath. Does well to find Linsky. He gets his pocket picked by the number 9, tracking back. Superb effort from Casey.
Yeah, brilliant work rate from him. I thought when the ball dropped to him near the edge of the box there, I thought he might try and take that first time on the volley. But I love the attitude there to get back and help his team defensively.
Immediately again, he just moves back into the front line. He's hanging on the last defender with a very high line for Villa right now.
Yeah, I literally took the words out of my mouth there. It's certainly got a lot higher line, Aston Villa. It's a lot deeper than that earlier on in the game, probably to try and obviously negate the threat of that pace that Palace rather have got in the front line, but looking to really try and push Palace now.
Space down the left with that run being made by Fraser Williams. That was ignored, and they'll probe down the right instead. But Drakes Thomas does well to beat the first man. And the second. But he can't find a teammate with the delivery. Easy plucked out of the air from Asimota.
Yeah, it's a shame, because that's the hard bit. Almost done. The run forward. The positioning. And at that vital moment, well, in the box wasn't good enough.
Well broken up by Joe. Danaher. Errant pass from the striker that's just about mopped up by Danaher and co. Lovely one-touch football. Casey able to escape away from his man, but can't escape the official's assistant on this near side. The offside flag raised against him. Well, one back on the far side of the field by Fraser Williams. Just can't find Anderson with the pass.
It's getting a bit more frantic, but I actually think that suits Palace, where for most of this first half, Villa seemed first to the first and second balls. Palace now were putting up more of a fight, they're more aggressive, and yes, it means the game's got more frantic and a little bit more scrappy, but starting to suit them.
Seen a bit more of this man on the ball as well. Danaher, along with Akoli, just establishing a central midfield presence a touch more in the last few minutes. It's passes like that that let them down, though. McGrath able to feed it forward. Burrows again. He's got McGrath in support. Takes two defenders out of the equation, looking for Mead. It's a delightful ball. He tried to hit it on the volley and couldn't find a clear path to goal. Eventually recovered by Benetton, but Villa once more waste another great chance to find their second.
Wow, how well did Burrows do there, by the way? The little drop of the shoulder takes it then on the outside, and then it's about the composure. And I sort of said about Drakes Thomas earlier, does all the hard work, gets in a fantastic position for Palace, and then can't find the right ball, whereas that's how you do it. And you look at Bradley Burrows, finds the ball, perfectly weighted. I don't think there's a lot more Mead can do with that, to be honest. Hits it first time on the volley. To mention it, look at this, nice little turn, hangs it up at the back post area. Great volley, angles against him, it's acute, but he does the right thing, Mead, and it's just actually really good defending in the end to make the block for Palace, and doesn't quite drop for Jack McGrath here. He's hoping he might get a tap in there.
It's interesting as well. I wondered if Mead could perhaps go with his head rather than the volley, but because he's moving back to get onto it, would have been difficult to get any power on that header.
Yeah, I think it's a more awkward position for him. I think if he's coming from a wider position and onto the ball, and as you say, then he can plant his head on it, it might be easier, but the fact he's almost coming away, I think he did the right thing. There wasn't a lot more he could do with it. It's just unfortunate for the angle for him, and it's good defending.
Angibo. Confirmation just a moment ago there of Finlay Barnard on a yellow card as well, which means that two of the three in that back three for Villa this evening in the heart of the defence are now carrying bookings. Didn't look like a necessarily bookable offence. There wasn't too much of a malicious nature in the challenge.
Yeah, not for me, and from what I can remember, I don't think Barnard's necessarily made a lot of challenges where that yellow card comes as a totting up procedure, so strange one in my opinion from Scott Jackson.
Burrows finding a way out. Mead can't find a teammate. Wilson just arriving a touch too late. That's well played though by Fraser Williams again. And Casey spacing behind suddenly. Takes it pretty well in stride and tries to lob the keeper, and he was only a fingertip or two away from doing exactly that. Asimota eventually jumps on it relatively comfortably, but another nervy moment for the Villa defence.
I mean, Asimota looked relatively comfortable, but Barnard and Ruth there certainly didn't.
Another opportunity for Bloomfield suddenly, and he fires it straight at the goalkeeper. He's finding joy just stealing in behind the shoulder, and Walker-Smith once again not exactly doing his best defensive work, helped out by his goalkeeper though.
You know what, he's getting in great positions, Bloomfield, but you can see it's a defender in those positions. He's not composed when he gets there. He's almost too excited. He needs to take another touch there, and then you see what the keeper does. Do they move? And it starts then to make your decision for you, but it just goes with that too early, Bloomfield.
Shout for handball against Casey as he brought it under control. Okoli keeps possession. Yeah, the number of players in this Villa side that would love to have that sort of opportunity, and 2 or 3 of them have now fallen to a man that isn't renowned for his scoring prowess coming from deep.
Yeah, and as I say, he's taken up some really good positions, so that's a positive, but when he gets there, I think he just needs to calm down. He's taking the opportunities too early. The 2 we've seen there, in terms of the one where he missed almost the open goal. He can take another touch there. He can certainly drive in more towards the goalkeeper, and then that helps you in that position, because if the goalkeeper moves, you can know where to put the ball. Or you've got time then for teammates to come and join you as well, and you can square a pass so it's an easy finish, but he just gets a bit too excited, I think.
Burrows upended. Casey keeps it in. The support inside. Judd high up the pitch. Lovely pull back as well to the winger. Great work again to find the creases between the defence. Anjipode unable to be in a position to do anything but go and collect it. I don't think that one stayed in, as Fraser Williams just losing control of it.
I said earlier that Drake's Thomas had to be better with his delivery, and actually I think he does really well here. I think he drops the ball in a fantastic area, and now that's about then the players around him recognising the situation. I think Anjipode comes in just that little bit too early, and then you see it. He's then chasing the ball, whereas they're the type of ones that you want to stay out, assess the situation, and then make the move in towards it. But it's something that he's going to have to obviously learn.
It's something that we do have to remember throughout this evening, isn't it? That these are very young men indeed, who are still very much learning the tricks of the trade, so to speak.
I think it's hard as a wide forward player now, because you're not just an out-and-out wide player, you're a forward player, and you want to be in and around in the box and in positions to score goals, but you don't want to be there too early. You don't want to get caught out like you did there.
2 minutes of stoppage time going up on the 4th officials board. Little shove in the back there by Casey was seen by the official as well. I think he was trying to be a touch too crafty and cute with that, hoping he could hide it from the official. It's one that's not necessarily going to be appreciated by anybody who's just feeling a little leggy going in at half-time, as Wilson the closest one to that booming ball forward from Masimoto, who we have seen does have that distribution. I mean, he's been a key component in some of the chances that Villa have cultivated in very direct fashion at times against Palace this evening. Trying to flick it on. McGrath's trying to bring it under control, but just ran out of room down towards the touchline, and that will probably be that in the end for this first 45 minutes.
And it's flown by, to be fair. So much momentum has changed in the first half.
So many opportunities as well for both sides. It was Villa that certainly started the brightest and found the early breakthrough inside 3 minutes through Jack McGrath. But Palace, as the half wore on, found their feet and found their fight back. And Ben Casey doing what he's done all season long, finding the back of the net on the half-hour mark to leave us in a parity position at the interval at half-time here in the FA Youth Cup. It's Aston Villa 1, Crystal Palace 1. Let's have a look at the best of the action from the opening 45 minutes of this FA Youth Cup quarter-final. And it started so brightly for Aston Villa. Very promising in the first 5 minutes, and the early promise found the back of the net. A deflected strike for Jack McGrath, just ricocheting off Jasper Judd and beating the goalkeeper early for the perfect start for the hosts.
It's a great start from Asamoah, isn't it? His distribution into McGrath, and I love the fact that, one, the way he takes it down on the half-turn, but then continues his run, gets himself in a fantastic position on the edge of the box, and then takes his opportunity. Yes, it takes a deflection, but that doesn't matter.
Well, that's a proud moment for any Villa youngster, scoring in front of the Halt end at Villa Park, and certainly one to savour. And they could have had more opportunities as well. Bradley Burrows given multiple chances really to eventually pull the trigger, turned in by Teddy Bloomfield. The flag would go up though and the goal wouldn't stand, much to the frustration of the Villa number 3, who has had plenty of chances in this game to get his name on the score sheet. But as the first half wore on, Palace got back into it, and the impressive work from Joel Drakes-Thomas finding an opportunity. David Angebode unable to finish it, but Ben Casey did, and Palace suddenly back level.
Yeah, and they were frustrated, Villa, because I think they thought that the ball maybe went out when Drakes-Thomas was running to the byline, but you have to play to the whistle. He puts in a good ball, hangs it up at the back post area, and Asamoah again initially makes a really good save, and you're hoping your defenders then come and help you out, but that's what good centre-forward was doing, Ben Casey. They make sure they're in and around.
Straight away from the restart, a golden opportunity again for Teddy Bloomfield. And how did this one not find the back of the net?
I'm not sure. The first touch is immaculate. He does well on the second there as well when the goalkeeper's on rushing, but he just needs to take the extra touch.
Just lacked that composure, but he's had a few more chances to get in behind as well. Bloomfield once more just finding that space, and a decent save that time from Luca Benetton.
And again, fantastic position from himself, but maybe just has a little bit more time than he thinks.
Well, that is, as I say, the best of the action from the opening 45 minutes. There's another 45 to come, and the potential of extra time and penalties as well, if we can't find a winner after 90. Thoroughly entertaining first half, though, here at Villa Park. At half-time, it's Villa 1, Crystal Palace 1. Second half when we come back. Welcome back to Villa Park, FA Youth Cup quarter-final, number 1 of 4. It's at the midway point, and Aston Villa and Crystal Palace have nothing really to separate them, both in terms of the score sheet and the chances that have been created. You would argue, I'm sure, particularly if you're of a home persuasion, that Villa have had the better of the chances and slightly a few more of them, but they've looked so dangerous defensively in possession. And they've gifted opportunities for Palace to stay in this game, find that equaliser through Ben Casey, nullifying Jack McGrath's early opener. And now Villa have to dig in and restart and rebuild once again. And I'm sure they'd love the second half to start the way the first did. Marky Mee gets us underway. Villa playing from left to right on your screens towards the North Stand for this second half. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk alongside myself, Oliver Wilson, for this FA Youth Cup encounter. And what you've seen from the opening 45 minutes from these two sides, it's fair to say I think we're probably going to have a lot of chances in this second half. Yeah, definitely, and I think probably Villa have been done out of a corner there, to be honest. It looked like the last flick potentially came off a Villa head, but no, you're right. I think Aston Villa probably looked the better and more dangerous going forward at times for me, but you know, they didn't take their opportunities. And I think with the quality that Palace have got in that forward line, they're always going to create one way or another, and especially with the defensive frailties that we mentioned about Aston Villa. It's set up for more goals, I think. There's no doubt about that one. Long may it continue potentially into an extra 30 as well. Oh, Casey's in behind, and a super save again from Asimota. Well, Casey does really well there with his run, in terms of his physicality as well, to muscle himself into a good position. And Asimota, though, keeps himself in a good position. Yes, the shot is straight at him, don't get me wrong, but I think he doesn't panic, he doesn't rush out. To say, look at great work from Casey, and Asimota then springs into action. It's a palm stinger that he was able to get two hands to rather comfortably. There wasn't an easy angle either for Casey, particularly as he was off balance, but it was a very good reaction save either way from the Villa shot stopper, who's had to make a few of those, including a very good one that led in the end to that equaliser from Ben Casey, who pounced on the rebound. Clip forward by Walker-Smith, just can't find anybody at midfield. Casey trying to get to it. You see Angebode is waiting patiently for any dribbles that might fall to him as well. He is the slightly larger of the front two in terms of his physical frame. He's a bit more of a target man. We've seen Casey dropping back a little more often and sitting slightly deeper than the Palace number 11. It's a lovely pass around the corner from Mead, and an opportunity again for Linsky to push. Bloomfield pulls it back, just can't find McGrath. I saw what Linsky was trying to do there. I think he was actually looking for Bradley Burrows and just trying to whip that run round the back line, and that Burrows could tap that in first time, but just a little bit too much on it. McGrath finding those gaps, those little pockets of space, and he finds another one again. Safe collection from Benetton. I've been impressed with Benetton in that sense, the way that he commands his area. He's happy to come, be brave, collect the ball, and looks a real pair of safe hands when he does so. His only awkward moment really was when he bumbled it out at the feet of Teddy Bloomfield when Bloomfield hit the post. It's the only time that Benetton has looked uneasy. He sees that one sail away up over the top of his goal and safely behind for a goal kick. And you hear and see there the frustration. Good position for Aston Villa, and just
drives it across rather than maybe taking a bit of time to try and find a teammate. It was one of those blind balls where you're hoping it flashes across the box to a teammate without maybe an actual end purpose or destination.
Burgess, the only one of the back three for Villa not on a yellow card. Do have the wing backs as well of Bloomfield and Wilson, who've both been pretty disciplined in how they've had to drop in and support the defensive duties as well as getting forward and helping out the attack. Aimless from the goalkeeper, Judd. Well, one, and Casey just holding on to it for too long, and Linsky wins the free kick as well. Some of the big bodies going forward here to try and be a target around the top of the 18-yard box. Burgess, the captain, just waiting around the top of the penalty area, just alongside Marky Mead. Wilson in that gaggle of players as well. He's out towards Wilson, left for Burrows. Not a bad effort either from Teddy Bloomfield, just digging it into the ground. A safe collection for Benetton.
Well, should spell a bit of a warning for Palace, because it's far too easy for Burrows and Wilson there to be free in that back post area. Luckily from their perspective, when the ball does go back across, and it was the right idea to do that first time, that probably not as many Villa bodies in the box as needed.
Free kick comes back for the challenge on Fraser Williams, who was streaking forward into the space, and now Burgess joins his fellow centre-backs in the naughty book, so he gets the yellow card. Challenge, though, that perhaps he felt he had to make as well there, Courtney, considering the amount of space just in front of Fraser Williams when he collected that.
Yeah, I think so. It's that situation that you don't particularly want to be in, especially now when you're on a caution and all of the defence are, but you're right, it's one of those where you feel you have to take it for the team.
Danaher. Closing down by the central midfielder as well, Danaher. All in vain in the end. He never really got close to possession, and suddenly Routh is working his way down the left flank into almost unknown territory for the defender. Wilson.
Movement from McGrath, he does well. Doesn't come to him in the end, and that was over the opposite side of the pitch, but trying to move off that front line to try and create a bit of indecision in the Palace back line.
Almost a game of stalemate in the middle of the park suddenly. Bloomfield just trying to peel off into the space on the far side, ignored by Routh in the end. Free kick against Danaher. Casey trying to turn the right way, but Bloomfield interrupts him. Burrows, Mead inside. Jenner. Palace have got plenty back behind the ball now. Mead. Steered away and behind for a corner. A little bit of the last-ditch defending required there, though, for Palace.
It's brilliant work from Mead. Feel like he's got no room there and he's potentially going down a blind alley, but his turn of pace over a short space here just gets him that little half a yard and puts the ball in a fantastic area.
Really quick to take that crossing opportunity. He'd almost just planted his foot. It was a flick of the ankle. Just waiting for the ball to be retrieved from behind in the north stand. Not privy to the plethora of ball boys and ball girls that would be here for a Premier League game that's led to the slight delay in proceedings. Once again, there's plenty in the 6-yard box causing problems for Benetton. No problems with that, however. Straight out of play from Bloomfield.
Straight away, he had his hands in his head, frustrated with that, and probably getting a few wry looks from the centre-halves that have made the way up the pitch.
It's one of those ones that you blame on the weight, right?
Yeah, weight, wind, weather, anything you can, and just completely look in the opposite direction of the centre-halves that have trudged 60 yards up the pitch.
Jenner. Linsky's got options ahead of him. All of them had to be found just between the two defenders. Burrows, again working his magic, finds Mead. That's a clumsy challenge by Judd as well, and the penalty's given. McGrath going down inside the box. But it's the Palace captain that gives Villa the perfect opportunity from 12 yards to restore their advantage.
Well, he's making the argument. For me, it looked like a penalty all day. The build-up was the real nice bit for me. That disguised ball was fantastic. And there's no argument to have there from Judd, in my opinion. McGrath does well. You see where he takes the ball on the outside. So he knows that defender to get the ball has got to come across him, which he does. He makes contact and definite penalty. Referee gets it spot on.
The man that won the penalty will take the penalty. Chance for Benetton to be an early hero here. McGrath steps up and tucks it into the bottom corner confidently. It's a similar celebration towards the corner flag. And it's a similar feeling for Palace as Villa go right back in front once again just before the hour mark.
Well, it's a really cool penalty, isn't it? Sends the goalkeeper the wrong way. There's still the right direction and waiting it in case that the keeper does go the right way, but just nonchalantly rolls that one into the back of the net, and that's the reward for winning the penalty. So here, clever, the way that he positions himself and the ball, just to draw that challenge from Judd, knowing that he's protecting the ball, and if contact is made, it will be a penalty.
Cool as you like in a pressure situation. And this time Villa need to try and preserve and hold on to that advantage. Danaher gives it across. Fraser Williams. For Cedar. Beautiful switch of the play. Difficult one to bring under control, though, there for Joel Drakes-Thomas. Even more difficult with two defenders around him. He can't find a way through. Space suddenly in behind for Burrows to break into if he can get to it. Well, judged by Benetton, just for a moment, you were a little worried that perhaps the skip of the ball might catch him off guard. Danger's not cleared just yet either. May trying to peel into the space. Hanging it towards that far post. And it just whipped away from the top corner at the last moment.
Yeah, it was close, wasn't it? Does ever so well again. He's been really adept at being able just to shift the ball quickly, create half a yard, and not sure whether he was looking for that top corner or whether he was looking for Teddy Bloomfield, but for either it was mightily close.
Couldn't be brought under control that by Burrows, nor could he feed it to a teammate, and a free kick eventually given. And goes Palace's way, just when danger was seemingly coming their defence's way.
Well, I've certainly looked the better in the second half, Villa, and especially since that goal, you can see it's given them confidence again. I'll certainly, as you mentioned earlier, won't be looking to repeat the fact that they conceded after scoring in the first half. If they can keep it like this, obviously they'll be very happy. And even if they can put more daylight in between themselves and Palace, even better.
There might be a chance to do that. Bloomfield. Awkward one to try and find a teammate.
Yeah, and I think, again, he maybe rushes it a little bit.
A little bit of trickery and artistry from Mead. Bloomfield finds Burrows.
He's having more of a growing influence in the game, isn't he, Mead? Just conducting things.
Anderson looking for Casey. It's a touch too long.
Yeah, I think right idea, certainly wrong execution. It's been a frustrating night for Casey. Ajibode. Yes, I know Casey's got on the score sheet, but in terms of probably the service that they've been given from the teammates, I think they'll be quite disappointed with it.
Look at the bench for Palace as well. There aren't many out-and-out forwards, and it's a very difficult case as well to take off the likes of Casey or Ajibode, who have done so much hard work. Anderson almost able to get onto it as once more Villa are perilously poor in possession at the back. I know, Courtney, everybody wants to be able to play aesthetically pleasing football and passing it out from the back, but as Mead tries to drive forward, capitalising on a long ball and the direct route again from Villa. Steady from Bloomfield. Burrows. Pass isn't the right one from the defender, Barnard. But it is one of those ones where you look at how Villa are playing in possession at the back and you think, why continue this strain of passing it around and almost playing silly beggars time and time again?
Yeah, I think it's difficult because as a player you're giving instructions from your manager, and if they're dead set on you wanting to do that, I think it's hard to go against it. But I think managers should let players see the pictures and play with freedom to an extent as well, and understand there's a philosophy to follow. I'm not saying you have to go direct long ball, but if you can maybe be a bit clever, draw Palace in and then just drop it over that forward pressing line, just feels a little bit safer.
Linsky. Mead just barged off it. Fraser Williams with a shoulder, and then a crunching challenge comes his way, as well, that would be called a tone setter back in the day from Junior Wilson. Firm and fair according to the official, but that is going to leave a lump for sure on Kyan Fraser Williams, who felt the full brunt of that blow.
Well, you're right, that is an old-fashioned tackle, and there's an extent where I don't mind it, because initially there is no doubt that the ball is won, but it's the follow-through. The follow-through is extremely aggressive. And I think if that's Premier League, EFL, I think that probably ends in a yellow card, if I'm quite honest.
Seeing it again from behind, it could even be more than that, because Wilson is seemingly off the ground at one point, and it would be deemed as potentially reckless endangerment in the way he's followed through as well on the Crystal Palace left back.
It's one of them, it's hard as a player because you commit to the tackle fully. And as you say, 10 years ago, that's massively applauded as a crunching tackle. But in this day and age, to step into a challenge with that ferocity, I think is always dangerous. And I think you see Fraser Williams there struggling, and I think that's an argument for Javier Alonso as well, isn't it, in terms of this endangerment of his player, and that's why he's upset.
It's also at this point in young players' careers, you don't want to see them having a torrid injury from a challenge like that has repercussions on a potential career at whatever level they may be hoping to get to in their next few seasons or so.
Just massively surprised as well that the referees let that go, just for a perspective as well as what these young players will then be refereed like higher up the pyramid. There's no doubt that will all day be given as a foul and a yellow card, so it's not then really in terms of a learning experience for them, setting them up for what senior football will be.
We do have a break in play, so we can have a look back at the 3 goals we've seen so far this evening. Courtney, it started bright and early for Villa.
Yeah, and does it ever so well. McGrath, and here they're asking Villa, did the ball go out of play, but they switch off for a minute, doesn't matter, and Casey makes sure he profits, and then again McGrath involved does really well, holding the ball up, winning the penalty, and then dispatching it with cool composure.
There's been a few McGraths around this part of the world that have been very successful, particularly at Villa Park. I mean, in the era of Glenn McGrath, we would have been playing on with a challenge like that from Wilson, and he'd probably be pushing forward as fast as anybody. He doesn't quite play with the same flair as Jack McGrath that we're seeing tonight, but certainly a name that is synonymous with that football club, this football club at that sort of era. Thankfully, at least, Kane Fraser Williams is back on his feet, but he is certainly needing support after that crunching challenge.
Yeah, we're just fortunate that it was not planted. But again, the more you see that and how high it is, I really think that it's lucky that Aston Villa still have the full complement of players on the pitch, to be quite honest.
Dante Martin comes on then for Kane Fraser Williams. It is a rather sad way to leave this evening, particularly in this sort of setting. I think you're right there, Courtney. The moment we first saw it, we thought it was old school, as we mentioned, crunching challenge. And the more you see it, the more you see the reckless endangerment from Junior Wilson, who's got away without a booking on that one as well. Forward by Judd, not exactly convincing though from the centre-back. Wilson. That clock just ticking away now rather too fast for Crystal Palace, considering the situation they're in. Anderson trying to turn away from trouble. Mead. Lovely ball around the corner. McGrath on a hat-trick. Beautiful turn. Fires it straight at the goalkeeper. Benetton stands strong. The opportunity came knocking for McGrath and Aston Villa, and it couldn't be taken.
Again, I keep mentioning Mead. He's been at the heart of everything for me that Aston Villa have been doing well in the build-up. Lovely little ball, similar actually to the one that won the penalty. Very similar run as well by McGrath. He does everything right. He cuts back in, he chops back in, and you're thinking, and this is the moment, he's going to take his time, and he does. I think he doesn't rush the shot necessarily. He looks up and just can't quite find the angle that he needs. There was always the opportunity as well earlier to cut that one across early, but uses the skill to chop onto his left.
It's almost like he used all the composure in creating the space, and then he decided to just put his left foot through it rather than picking a spot. Either way, it's another opportunity to try and close this game out, to try and give Villa a 2-goal cushion that isn't taken. Mead. Wilson. Fist into the danger zone. It's an awkward one for the defender to deal with. Bloomfield. He finds a route to goal and wasn't too far away from it either.
I thought that was his moment. He's tried and he's tried. Bloomfield to put the ball in the back of the net, found himself in another very good position. Gets that onto his right, just trying to bend it into the top right-hand corner, trying to find a bit of finesse. It doesn't miss by much.
Charm life for Javier Alonso and his side right now. Palace are very much on the ropes at this moment. Villa can smell blood in the water.
I think they score now, Aston Villa. Shortly, they'll feel that it's job done. I think if they can get that third goal, put that bigger amount of daylight between themselves and Palace now, then the last 20 minutes and whatever's added will feel a lot more comfortable.
Coley wins a free kick though in a decent position. Chubb wants to go quickly. Drakes Thomas around the outside, watched by Bloomfield. Goal kick given.
Does well, sticking to his man there, Bloomfield.
Not long now for Richard Beale and his side to hold on. At his time in Midlands football for a long period of time, actually was a caretaker manager of West Bromwich Albion's senior side after Steve Bruce departed the job back in 2022. Been involved with Birmingham City in his career as well. Don't say that too loudly here at Villa Park, however. Did win a Premier League Cup with West Bromwich Albion as well, winning it in the penalty shootout against Wolves, which is another one to add to the local rivalries in this part. Ewan Danaher goes into the referee's book.
Easy one for the referee to decide on a course of action, that one.
Not too easy at the back for Villa here, once again in possession. Asamoah takes the route one route. Benetton not convincing in terms of the communication with his defenders. Got away with it. Rare chance for Drakes Thomas to go inside. It's working out quite nicely as well. Still going here. I think he felt he may have been caught from behind. The ricochet off the knee of Casey was comfortable in the end for the goalkeeper.
Yeah, he's clever there. Asamoah just taking his time, managing the game. It's in full flow here. Drakes Thomas looking for something, but it's the right decision. Wilson's just pulled up there.
He's holding that left calf, it seems.
Doesn't seem anything too untoward, does it? Just cramp the physicality of the game, and others that are obviously in the legs starting to take hold.
Especially when you've been up and down a flank a fair few times as well over the 74 minutes or so.
You see there, straight away, he tries to make the movement to get that ball, and his cramp, it's one of those where it's difficult. Once it really sets into a degree like that, where it drops you, it's really hard to get rid of. I spotted the physio giving him a gel, but whether that will do the job, I'm not too sure.
As I say, Javier Alonso's got a few options on the bench, but when all the creative players and the key men in terms of finding goals are already on the field, it's that roll of the dice of either you hope for something special from a substitute that comes from perhaps someone unexpected, if you will, or do you rely on the players that have got you to this sort of position?
Yeah, it's hard because even when they're not maybe playing to the level that you expect, those players that are already on the pitch, when they've played well previously, scored goals, you sort of, especially as a forward player, I think I earn the right to stay on the pitch and create a moment, and it's that risk and reward and decision making that managers have to make.
Oh, back underway. Wilson still on the sideline, not being let back onto the field just yet by the official. Still Villa just down to 10 men for the moment. Macaulay.
Good little battle that, and I don't mind that from the referee. 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, and lets it run.
Under 15 minutes to go here. Possession is precious for Crystal Palace. They need to start creating chances as well now. Been relatively quiet for the last 15 minutes or so. Judd. Space, acres of it on that far side of the field as well. Lovely touch inside to Casey. Again has numbers in support. Firm hand from the goalkeeper, but almost not firm enough as Case was on to the second ball and it steered behind for a corner off the defender.
Yeah, goalkeeper does really well, but what Aston Villa need to be careful of there is the fact that Martin isn't tracked. See the way that he manages to get into a really good position, very much unmarked.
First real time we've seen the Crystal Palace substitute being involved, and it was almost sensational first impact. He's inside the penalty area, along with so many others waiting for the delivery. Macaulay with the header, palmed away by the goalkeeper. Goes past Judd, finds the feet of Drakes Thomas. Captain in support. He might be needed as well. McGrath is just holding up the winger really nicely.
Well, Palace are starting to realise it's now or never, and this will continue. And trying to get themselves back into the game, and it's not just the 11 or so minutes we've got left. There'll be a fair amount of added time, but Samota certainly playing his part. And the
Portuguese fullback Rodrigo Fortes comes on to replace Wilson, who was just struggling a moment ago. His evening comes to an early end, but not in the way that I think some Palace fans would have potentially hoped for after that crunching challenge that took K.M. Fraser-Williams out of the game. He normally plays as a left-back, does the Portuguese fullback, but he slots straight in onto the right side of the field. Has had a bit of time playing in the Premier League 2 with the under-21s as well this season. As he's straight into the thick of things on this near side. Considering we have about 10 minutes to go, one thing Villa haven't really done yet is sunk back in and just allowed Palace onto them yet. They've still stayed very firm, almost keeping them at arm's length.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. There's a time and a place to sit back in and soak up the pressure, but I always think it's a dangerous game to play, especially when it's only one goal between the two sides. For me, sometimes the best form of defence is attack.
Rodrigo Fortes. Burgess. Trying to find those passes again, Mead. This time McGrath can't get to it. Facida. Martin. Get the space in the middle of the park for a Coley. Not a bad delivery by Anderson either, and it was nodded just over the top of the crossbar in the end with no real power on the header.
And you see, that's a motor. Got his angles right. Happy to see that ball drop over the crossbar, and interesting to see what Villa continue to do now. I assume it'll be that continuation of playing out from the back. Maybe in the next 5 minutes will they start to go a little bit longer as the end of the game comes nearer.
Wouldn't suggest it if the deliveries are like that, straight out of play, and Palace retake possession.
You make a good point.
Errant pass from Casey. Burrows almost onto it, just hesitated and seemed to allow Walker-Smith to come across and deal with the danger. Burrows waiting inside the 18-yard box. McGrath. Oh, it could have fallen to Mead as well if he'd anticipated it. It was hard to with the ricochet on the cross. It's a decent effort from distance, as palmed away as Linsky struck it sweetly and had Benetton at stretch just to try and keep it out of that left-hand side of his goal.
Yeah, it's a really good save. Don't mind that at all. Linsky, I think he hits this well. You see he's inside of the boot. He's trying to get that curl on it, wrap it inside that right-hand post. The goalkeeper more than equal to it. That gives us a great angle as well to show that it's coming through body, so makes the save even better.
Linsky goes short. Jenner. Benetton not looking too sure of himself just for a moment. Burgess goes wide. That stayed in play, and that's fallen kindly to Burrows. He takes it straight back over to that corner. That'll be a free kick, as Casey was trying to get away from the last defender and easily could see hands-on from Rodrigo Fortes.
And you know what, fair credit to Ben Casey. He's got his goal. He's not had a lot to feed off in this game. Worked so hard there to win a free kick for his side. He's constantly been available despite not really getting the service that his work rate has deserved.
Anderson. Kept alive. Anderson keeps it at his feet. Turns straight into trouble once more.
That's poor from Alfilinski there. Lack of awareness of what's around him, and doesn't need to lose the ball as easily as he does there.
Judd happy to run at the defence. He's given an avenue as well, but again, it's an easy collection in the end for Asamoah.
Still content to play out short, although that one's going to go a bit longer from Villa.
Burrows relentless with the chase. Anderson again. Rare touch in opposition territory for Ajibode. Anderson finds a gap. Oh, it's sensational! Just half a second, half a moment to find an avenue to that far top corner, and it is something superb inside the final 5 minutes that gets Palace back level once again.
Well, it was going to take something special to beat Asamoah today, because I think he's been really good in that Aston Villa goal. Love this, where he uses body to turn. Just that moment to set himself up on the outside of his right boot. And that look up, maybe takes a slight deflection on the way in, but regardless of that, it's a big goal to get Palace back in it.
They need to hold on to parity as well, as there's a free kick with Bloomfield tussling down on the far side. The flag up, I think, on this near side. Palace can clear their lines quickly.
Well, I think Aston Villa right now will certainly ruin all the missed chances in this game.
Changes being prepared from both sides, as now Asamoah is down and looking like he's just strained something, maybe. Gives a chance as well for the players to go across, and with about 3 minutes to go plus stoppage time, there are some mightily important words of wisdom to come from the managers in this sort of moment.
Yeah, you know why as well, because I think there's going to be a fair amount of added time for the injuries that we've had. So this isn't a case of a couple of minutes and this game's over. There's going to be a chunky amount to still be able to win this game.
Fletcher Boyd is waiting down there on the sideline, the number 15 for Aston Villa, as Jack McGrath is going to be the one who comes off from the looks of the fourth officials board there. Cole Ramsey as well, the number 14, the attacking midfielder, just waiting to be introduced too. Maybe if McGrath is just tiring slightly after what's been a hard night's work, which is why the change is being made. Mead as well is coming off, and Cole Ramsey comes on to replace him.
I must admit, I thought Villa might make some changes a little bit early just to get fresh legs on the pitch. Left it quite late, and maybe they've been made to pay for that a little bit, because you see as this second half's gone on, especially in the last 5 or so minutes, with Palace having more impetus, they've looked a bit more ragged.
David Ajibode as well has come off. Jamal Lee coming on to replace him. Confirmation of the Mead Ramsey change there on your screens. Asamoah back on his feet. It's led to a delay of around about 2 minutes or so. In fact, it's Bernard who comes on to replace him, the number 17. to see how much time will go up on the fourth official's board. As you say, Courtney, it's probably going to be a mighty chunk.
Yeah, healthy amount for both of these teams to try and find a winner.
If it is all level at full time, extra time and penalties, there's the potential on the way. Spot in the semi-final of the FA Youth Cup, very much finally in the balance right now for Aston Villa and Crystal Palace, and importantly for Palace as well. This is just getting rid of some of the demons of their last two trips to this part of the world to take on Villa. 8 minutes of stoppage time to play, plenty of time for somebody to find a winner. Ramsey couldn't take it in stride, the ball just behind him slightly. Interesting, those changes, bringing off the man who scored twice and the man who's looked really good with his link play as well as a central character in the front line.
Yeah, whether it's a feeling that it's more a case of fresh legs or looking forward to extra time, but it does seem peculiar to me.
Anderson, has he got the Midas touch once again? Goes around the outside. Burrows again tearing onto that, but Benetton reading it just as well, almost like a Manuel Neuer type role, playing the sweeper.
You see the frustration in Bradley Burrows as well, because it's not stopped tonight. His work rate's been impeccable, the way that he's defended from the front.
Fasida. Coley being patient. Almost a bit too much zip on that in the end, but it's well played. Even better as well from Danaher. And it's going to hold up for the substitute. Bernard pulls it back to Anderson. Judd. Free kick. The big men immediately start to make their way forward.
It's a big opportunity, isn't it? Take your time, make sure the ball in the box is good. Beats the first man and go and attack it.
That's a great nod down across goal, and that could be the winner from Coley. You said it could be a big moment. It's a huge moment in this cup tie. And have Palace completed a comeback, twice falling behind tonight at Villa Park? And are they heading to the final four of the FA Youth Cup, thanks to the boot of Chuck Sokoli?
Well, this is about the quality of the ball in the box, which is good, but then the willingness, the determination to go and win it. And then when you've got bodies up, how many players can you get in and around? Can someone get the vital touch? And certainly a Coley can, but big props to Walker Smith. Does ever so well with the header back across when he's under so much pressure. And I've said it time and time again and kept thinking it. Aston Villa, are they going to rue all the chances that they've missed in this game? And it certainly looks to be the case.
To his credit, so we've seen they're both managers. Javi Alonso has never looked flustered about how this game has gone about this evening. He's looked calm and composed. And he's clearly believed that he has the ability to make the changes to get Palace in front, which they are now, but they're immediately defending as it's behind for a corner.
Yeah, it's not quite done yet, is it? But you're right. You know, in terms of Alonso believing in that process, even the build-up to that free kick, it was very calm the way that Palace were playing the ball around. There was no, I'd say there was a lack of urgency, but it certainly wasn't frantic, and maybe that's a good thing, because then when they took the free kick, it was composed, the ball in the box was good, and they were ready for what was to come.
important touch from Benetton. Wasn't the best in the end from the keeper. Burgess sends it back in and sends it too long.
He gets to touch Benetton. I have to say it was less than convincing, but gets the job done in the end.
Oscar Johnson waiting to come up. Teddy Bloomfield, the one who's going to depart. Mentioned just a moment ago the number of chances and how many has Teddy Bloomfield had. It's a credit to the work that he's done more than anything else, but he will feel as frustrated as anybody that one of those hasn't found the back of the net.
Yeah, I agree, and obviously with him not being necessarily sort of a centre forward or forward player, there's an element of grace that you give him, and you're right, his work rate, the anticipation of where the ball's going to land to get himself into those positions, those shooting positions have been very good, but the 3 or 4 chances that he had were very, very good, and at least one of them has to go in the back of the net.
Around about 2 minutes to go here at Villa Park. It's Palace for the first time tonight in stoppage time finding an advantage. But there is still plenty of time for this Villa side that has created so many opportunities to find one last important one. There's the goal scorer who's put Palace in front, back to those defensive duties once again. Jenna. Fortes losing out and going down and winning a free kick. A bit further out than the one that Palace found their third of the night from, but it's not too dissimilar a position.
And it's probably last opportunity they're going to get to the ball in the box and find a very late equaliser.
Well, every outfield player pretty much is towards the top of the penalty area, aside from Fortes, who's back at the halfway line. Benetton doesn't really get to it, nobody else does, however, as it bounced right in front of Leon Rouse, who was the first one to it. Well kept alive on the far side. Linsky doing his best, but biting off more than he could chew.
And initially that free kick in, I shook my head because I thought it was really poor, too much elevation on it, but Benetton again comes for it probably when he shouldn't do, or at least he doesn't come from it convincingly, and nearly lets his team down.
We're surely now at last chance saloon for Villa. Has to go long into the box. And it's straight back out again. Once more, Okoli doing the dirty work at the back. Okoli there once more, and a chance to run this away from the pressure. In case he's not going to get to it, that might be a missed opportunity for Palace just to hold possession for the last 10 seconds or so. Well, that's a throw to the visitors, and that could well be that. Javier Alonso's side have weathered the storm this evening.
Big credit to Palace, their character, the belief to come back into the game.
Still no sign of a whistle yet from the official. Possession lost by Bernard. Danaher does very well to break that one up, and the substitutes going after it with the fresher legs. It's got to go forward here from Asimota. We've played 9 minutes of stoppage time, and there will be no more than that. The young Eagles of Crystal Palace go soaring into the semi-finals of the FA Youth Cup. A 3-2 victory on the road at Villa Park. It may have seemed like a daunting occasion for these youngsters, particularly at times this evening, but the never-say-die attitude of Javier Alonso and his men worked right until the end. The goals from Ben Casey and Rahan Anderson were so needed to restore parity, and the final winning touch from Chucksa Kohli in stoppage time sends Villa crashing out of the competition, and the reigning champions do not see a way into the final four. It finishes here at Villa Park. Aston Villa 2, Crystal Palace 3, and Crystal Palace are the first name in the hat for the semi-final draw. Courtney, a sensational evening of drama and excitement.
Yeah, it was. It was a brilliant game to watch from a neutral's perspective. So many opportunities on the ball, and yeah, mistakes at the back, and of those harem-scarum moments. But got to give full credit to Palace. I think across the game, Aston Villa created the more frequent and better opportunities, but there's one thing to create them, it's another thing to put them in the back of the net and be clinical, which they weren't. And Palace, they rode the storm, and something that you said in commentary has stuck out to me in terms of Alonso, and he didn't seem panicked. He wasn't overly critical of the situation. He kept his composure, so did Palace, and when the moment arose for a hero, Kohli was the one that stood up. But I think they believed in their process, the character to come back and finally get the winner. I think it's all credit to them, and it'll be interesting to see what they do in the semi-final.
Certainly will. Who will join them in the semi-final, we'll find out over the next few weeks. There is one taking place already right now tonight, and then there are two more coming up later on in the month. But this is a moment to really relish for Javier Alonso, a ground that this club have had difficulty coming to in their last two trips for sure. Even though Palace, you would argue, over the course of history have a slight advantage, and of course they have the bragging rights from the 78 final of this competition as well over Aston Villa. But not only that, the success, the Premier League Cup final position is secure. The title race push is still on to try and put some pressure on Tottenham Hotspur's young guns, and now to have this as well. Everything just keeps getting better and better, and momentum continues to build for this final run-in for the season. Yeah,
it doesn't, and winning breeds winning. It's as simple as that, so it doesn't really particularly matter which way you do it and what competition it's in. It's about when you win, that feeling when you bounce into the training ground the next few days. The hard yards in training don't seem so hard, and then you bounce into the next one, and the confidence, it almost then starts becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. So yeah, sometimes it's hard to balance multiple competitions, but also the confidence it gives you is worth its weight in gold.
Does the manner of that victory in particular stand out as well? The fact that they had to come from behind twice and leave it so late in stoppage time?
Yeah, of course, in an ideal world, you want to get it done. You want to be 3-0 up after 20 minutes, and it'd be easy, but football isn't always like that. And actually, the difference when you score a late goal and the way the changing room bounces is completely different in terms of, yeah, obviously it's great when you go in and you've maybe won 3-0 and it's easy, but last-minute goals, they're always a little bit different. They hit a little bit different, and yeah, it'll be a great moment for those guys in the changing room. A great bus journey back to South London as well this evening down the M1, I'm sure. For Villa, look, we said it time and time again in commentary, it was just missing that magic moment, just one more time to put the game to bed. They were never able to find it, and it's something that will have to be rectified by Richard Beale going forward with these young men, is taking those opportunities. Yeah, it will do. And look, there's two sides to the coin, because you look at the positive and go, we're creating opportunities, and actually you've got a goalkeeper in Owen Asamoah that I think played really, really well and made a number of good saves. So you've got a good keeper. I wouldn't say there's full defensive solidity in that back line, because sometimes playing out from the back they didn't look great, but they create chances. But the final piece of that puzzle is obviously putting them away and being more clinical, so that's something that they've obviously got to go back and work on. And now there's a chance to perhaps dream about a spot in a final, 90 minutes away from an FA Youth Cup final, and they have knocked off one of the most illustrious sides in the competition as well. There's some difficult ones potentially still to come, with Blackburn Rovers and Burnley battling it out tonight. Manchester City and Everton taking place on the 13th of March, and then Manchester United against Sunderland as well. I'm sure there's a few people that would quite like the idea of maybe a all-Manchester semi-final on one side, and then possibly an all-claret and blue on the other, with Villa and Burnley, or something similar to that. But at this point for this Crystal Palace side, you're not really too fussed about who's in the draw. You're in the hat. You've done the hard bit. You're the first one in there as well, so everything else will unfold as it is, but they'll be very happy tonight that they're there.
There's some discussions to be had from the youngsters with those that have come and supported them this evening and are continuing to follow their journey. But it's another step on what is looking like a very promising road indeed. It might not be yellow brick, it might be silver instead, that this road is certainly winding towards for Crystal Palace at some point this season. Now there's just the ramifications of a semi-final appearance, and of course the Premier League Cup final as well that is on the horizon. But it's a night to enjoy, particularly for that young man, Chuck Sokoli. 2 goals in the league, but one important one tonight in the FA Youth Cup quarter-final that leaves us here at Villa Park with the final scoreline of Aston Villa 2, Crystal Palace 3. Well, there's a lot of drama to look back on from an exciting evening at Villa Park, and we were entertained very much from the get-go. But in this second half, it was Ben Casey who had an early opportunity fighting between defenders to try and keep Palace very much in the thick of things. But this was what we thought was going to be the big turning point in the second half. A poor challenge from Jasper Judd bringing down Jack McGrath, and McGrath would step up and take the penalty that he won. Yeah,
and I think he's really clever the way he wins it as well, using his body position to protect the ball, and then when he gets the opportunity, coolly eyeballs the goalkeeper and slots it the opposite way.
That goal just before the hour mark for Villa to get them ahead 2-1 on the night. And we certainly felt that Villa had the better of the opportunities as well throughout the majority of the 90 minutes. That man, Marky Mead, with a superb ball, and McGrath looking for his hat-trick, did everything right until the final touch.
Yeah, and Mead was probably Villa's best player for me, the way that he constructed most of their chances, and McGrath does ever so well there, but the vital moment just can't find the net.
There were signs of life from Palace as the game wore on. Chuck Sokoli with the header, glancing, and maybe one for the cameras from Owen Asamoah, but a good save either way.
Yeah, and I think he made a number of good saves tonight, Asamoah.
As did Benetton on the Palace defence as well, trying to keep Villa at bay time and time again and hold them off. This was an effort from Vilinski from the edge of the area that tested Benetton at full stretch.
And I think this angle gives a great illustration, the fact that how good that save was, because it was coming for a number of bodies, so Benetton would have seen it relatively late.
We knew that Palace needed something special to try and find an equaliser, but this was absolutely outrageous from Rayhan Anderson.
Yeah, I love the way that little touch with the outside of his right foot finds himself half a yard, and then at that point you're thinking he can't, can he? But what a wonderful finish that is.
Coming so late on to restore parity, but there was still time for somebody to go and find a winner, and in stoppage time, in the 3rd minute of the 8 added on, it's just a well-worked training ground move in the end, isn't it? A lovely nod down for a goalie who sticks a right boot out and finish it. Yeah,
I think Walker-Smith does ever so well to win this ball, put it in an area, and it's determination from a goalie to just get something on it, make sure that he makes contact, and what a big moment for the young man.
One certainly to savour. Could be a few more of those moments for Crystal Palace before this season is done and dusted. But Okoli mobbed by his teammates, and rightfully so, finding that winner in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. Palace would hold on and book their spot in the semi-finals of the FA Youth Cup. We will have more action as the competition continues, but here from Villa Park tonight it finishes. The holders of this title, Aston Villa 2, Crystal Palace 3, and Crystal Palace the first name in the semi-final hat.